Hello everybody, we're going to do 7 heroes this one, and then we're going to do the other, I believe, 7 in the next video, making a total of 3 for this video. We're starting with the Crusader, and as always, I'll kind of show you the skills I saved and what position they would have been. There's essentially 2 positions with Crusader, back row, front row. This guy was obviously a back row, maybe a 3rd position into a stun. We'll quickly go over the quirks he has, because it would affect what I would put on him. And it's mostly the Luminous. I believe that's DLC quirk. It may not be a quirk. But anyways, plus 2 speed, 5 dodge is actually massive on the Crusader and would change what I would put on him. But we're going to once again pretend he doesn't have that quirk because that's a very game-changing quirk. Now, if we're going to do a front row Crusader, I usually recommend this. You could maybe do Holy Lance. You want to start him in 3rd, or you could do Zealous. And the only reason I would suggest Zealous is maybe to kill a dead body earlier, or maybe hit someone who's guarding, or just to double finish. But typically, I like going battle heal now, or you can do a Holy Lance, like I said, for a 3rd to 2 position start, if that works for your party. Now, if you're going to do this, for the most part, for the Crusader, I'll kind of talk about it like I did last time. I would increase damage if you're going to go... Well, I would always just generically increase damage if you're going to go, obviously, a damage Crusader. We'll talk about a support Crusader. I go damage, stun, and typically accuracy. Outside of that, he's pretty simple. I really would increase his accuracy and damage, though, because he is going to be primarily a big damage dealer. So, if you got a Crusader that's not support, most likely they're damage. Now, we're going to have to talk about a 3rd instead, like front row damage dealer, back row damage dealer. If you're doing a back row damage dealer, you probably want them to have a little bit of speed, just to go a wee faster. You don't have to, but it certainly helps. I would not do opposite the Prophet's Eye. You don't have to increase dodge or increase HP on the Crusader. It's got so much already. I really wouldn't do protection, though. The 10% protection, 10 accuracy of the Signet ring is actually really good. You could consider that. The Ancestor's Pen, the 8% crit, 10% damage. It's okay. It's not terrible, but it's also not like phenomenal. He's already got really good bleed resist, I believe. I think putting the hard arm's a little overkill. He does have 15 from a quirk. So he's got 90. He's actually about average. So you could essentially make this a guaranteed no bleed if you go to an area with heavy bleed. Give him 71 HP. These are not too terrible trinkets. Only negative of this is 10% stress increase. So 10 accuracy, 10% protection, 50% bleed, 15% max HP. These are endgame items. Obviously, I will always say the Ancestor's Candle is always great. There's not a hero it's not great on. I kind of avoid Wilbur's Flag. His dodge is... It's okay. He's got a quirk, and I don't know where he's getting that plus 5 dodge from. Oh, that's right, Luminous. So, 25 dodge, kind of low. Not the lowest, but it's not high, so I wouldn't worry about like really trying to increase his dodge. Once again, we're talking about a damaged Crusader, so we're not going to do stress heal or stress increase yet. You can always just give him a generic stress reduction trinket because he does go slow and he does have low dodge. Just kind of reduce that stress damage he's going to take. So obviously Book of Sanities are more common than the Aria box. Just looking through, your focus rings are really great on him. The 10 accuracy, 5% crit. Like I said, he really wants to accelerate in the crit and hitting. Once again, he doesn't have the highest dodge, so who cares if he gets hit? Early game, he managed to pick up a Fortifying Garlic. Pretty good. He's got so much HP if he doesn't take any DOTs. Really good. Not a fan of the Holy Orders. Honestly, I don't really understand the point of that. I mean, minus 20% stress is good early on, but I think there's other trinkets that are better. Honestly, the legendary bracer, pretty good, 12 to 23. If you go to the what's it called, the ruins, you do 35% more damage. So what are you smacking, 17 to 30 about? So that's really good. That's really high damage. 12 to 23 is great damage. Even when you do a negative 50% modifier, you're still hitting 6 to 11, 6 to 12. A crit's 18 damage. That's a lot of damage. Pretty good stun. Once again, since you are going damage build, 25% damage if in position 1. Maybe if you pick these up super early, it's not terrible. The minus 5% crit is rough. I'm not a fan of that, but maybe super early on you have no other trinkets. That could really ramp up his damage, especially in the ruins. But I'm not the biggest fan of that. Commander orders, when we get to support, this is earlier on, 33% healing skills, 15% stress heal received. Pretty good, minus 10% damage. 10% is not the end of the world, but those other gains are decent. So we will consider that. Feather Crystal, actually hero, I'm not a huge fan of the Feather Crystal on. Like I said, the Crusader going really early. It's a bonus, but it's not a necessity. And the 8 dodge, his dodge is already lower, so it's not really something I look to boost. So actually the Feather Crystal on him, not as important. You can do the Quick Draw Charm if you're going to do a back row, like blow up build. It's a 12% crit, 8 speed. It would give him usually, what, 11? Yeah, it would give him 11 speed, which probably puts him in the top 3. A lot of stress damage dealers tend to sit around 10 to 12, so it'd be kind of a coin flip. But that's a great way to maybe blow up a back row person. You just want to put an accuracy trinket on him. You could do the Sun Ring at this stage in the game. That's pretty good. I would not recommend the Sun Cloak. Once again, don't really need dodge. You want accuracy and damage. So this would be your 10% damage, 5 more accuracy. You'd get the speed buff with more crit. So that's pretty good for a first turn Holy Lance from maybe 3rd to 2nd. And then you can be stunning in your 2nd turn. You could give more HP if you have it early on. I mean, minus 1 speed, they're already lower. But really, if you got an opportunity, absolutely the Paralyzing Crest, 20% stun chance, you absolutely would want that. I wouldn't stack it with the Stun Amulet, because this doesn't give you, so that's minus 4 dodge, 10% less on the, it gives you more resist, but yeah. You could do the Swift Cloak maybe. Surgical Gloves ain't bad. It gives you that accuracy and that crit. Once again, you need that, so if you don't have a Sun Ring, but you have the Surgical Gloves, pretty good. Early move resist and debuff resist, who really cares? He's great for the Scouting Cloak early on, just for the first turn. He's already near the bottom. You get near your 10% scouting back. Those are some great trinkets. Just a generic 10% max HP, no pullback. Same with minus 10 stress. Just great things. He's also, once again, good survival guy because of the minus 1 speed. He's already near the bottom. Swordsman Crest, I usually don't use his battle heal early on because it's so low. So really, if you just want to get that 10% damage, his base damage isn't terrible at weapon 1. I don't even know if we can go back and look at that, to be honest. No, you cannot. Okay. I just wanted to see what his minimal damage is at low levels. Warrior Cap's always good. Generic accuracy. That's pretty much it. And then you could always do the Stun Stone. Once again, emphasizing that stun. Who cares about the minus speed? Alright, now we're going to do a 4th position Crusader. I actually don't like the Prophet's Eye on him. And the reason for that is pretty much if you Holy Lance, you use it. And if you're not using Holy Lance, you don't really need the accuracy. The minus, I guess the speed and reduction and stress is nice. But for the most part, Ancestor Scroll, it's going to make your Inspiring Cry better, right? Inspiring Cry, yes. And it's going to make your Battle Heal obviously better. So I think that goes like 6 to 8, 25%. Yeah, that goes about 6 to 8. And this goes to 3. But the minus stress is now 10, which is really good. You get the 10 torch. Pretty much anything else, you could maybe increase his dodge ability. You could put on something that reduces stress. The Prophet's Eye may not be terrible. Maybe you'd want him to be a 3rd position Crusader, not 4th. Maybe have someone who does a little more damage in the 4th, have a Prophet's Eye. It's not the best item for him, but it is an option. You could do Ancestor's Candle if you want a Holy Lance. He could be your scouting kind of guy. Like I said, I wouldn't just generically increase his dodge or HP. He could just have, once again, stress reduction so he doesn't have to worry about stress healing himself. Because once again, he is slow and he'll probably get hit. Wooden Focus Ring. Yeah, for the most part, if you can't find the Ancestor Scroll, we will go look for other trinkets that obviously emphasize the healing or stress healing ability. Once again, Crusader's orders, at least he gets a little more. He increases his healing skills. It's hero specific early on. Not terrible. Well, look what else we got here. Healing received, I wouldn't put that on him. He doesn't really need it. Yeah, overall, if you want to go like 1 healing ability, scouting, or then potentially like a damage ability, you could. Because it is hard finding something that increases stress healing this on. There's obviously trinkets that do just generic healing. I'm not a fan of doing a support Crusader early on, because a lot of the good trinkets for support Crusader are much later in the game. So I would recommend, if you're going to do support Crusader, put on the back end, not the front. Now we got the Jester. The Jester, whether he's damage or like full support, we pretty much do the same thing every time. I will increase his dodge, I'll increase his speed, maybe his HP, or give him a scouting. In a weird scenario in the very early game, I may do a plus bleed chance, but not too much lean into that. What I don't want to do on this hero is decrease his HP, decrease his dodge, or decrease his speed. Essentially everything we're going to do, we want to increase. Obviously we don't want to decrease. That's not always true for everybody, but for the Jester, 35 HP at champion is very squishy. I know early on, some of my favorite stuff is the camouflage cloak, because it gives the 15 dodge. It boosts up his dodge a lot, and then we can play around. But for very end game, let's say we got a third position Jester, I do actually like the code on him. It's an immediate 50 dodge. That's really hard to hit. I think with light levels you even get higher, so you can have really high dodge. If you want to just go disgusting, you could do Wilbur's Flag, give him 60, probably never gets hit too often. If you really want to make his inspiring tune really good, it goes from -12 to -15 with the Ancestor Scroll. It's really good. So -15, I mean, I think the witches do like 20-25 at that level, so you're essentially like almost half to a little over half what they do in stress damage, so it's really good, really quick. Like I said, you could give him Wilbur's Flag for the stun resist and all that. I wouldn't really do anything with his melee, and I don't know if I'd do the Ancestor's Candle. Yeah, it's a little more speed, a little more damage, some dodge, but overall I'd let your damage dealers have that more. Yeah, overall he's pretty simple. I don't think you really got to sweat about him. He could carry your scouting trinkets again. He could carry your like minus stress skills. It's not terrible. You really don't, people who want to help other people, you don't want them to be slowed down by their own problems, which is why I always recommend like fortifying garlics, or I don't even know what I just mentioned. Oh, books of sanities to decrease their stress. If you want someone to be helping others, they can't be detrimental. So that's kind of the way I always look at it. If they're a helper, you want your helper to be able to dodge or sustain stress and HP damage. Because if your helper has to only be helping themselves, it's kind of ridiculous. Bright Tambourine, really good. Just keep the torch above 75. Pretty darn good early on. -25% stress, plus 20% stress skills. Great item early on for support. If you're looking for damage Jester, once again, you could go through your like typical, I don't know if I'd do Focus Ring because it decreases accuracy, but anything that'd give you accuracy, maybe a bleed chance. Feather Crystal is something I'd highly recommend. Get that speed up to, he gets +2 from the building, so it'd only be +11 speed, but that's almost in par with the people in the back row. After one Battle Ballad, I believe you go up to what, 15 speed then, right? Yeah, you go up to 15 speed, probably outpacing them then. So after one Battle Ballad, you'll be going before your enemy. That's not end of the world. You could go Sun Ring early on, the 10% damage, 5 crit if you're going to do a little more of a harvest. Obviously, that then leads into the Bleed Amulet. You could give him the Book of Unholiness. Like I said, Camouflage Cloak is one of my favorite. That 15 dodge very early on is the Ancestor's Jacket, whatever it's called. Early on, that just absolutely obliterates people's chances to hit you. 7% crit generically is very good for Harvest and Dirk Stabs and Finales. So for the Jester overall, I think it's a pretty simple character. Don't decrease his HP for sure. 35 is so low at max. He really lives off his dodge, kind of like a Grave Robber, and his speed is what's going to allow him to go obviously first, and then if you spam Battle Ballad, allow your team to go first. So even an early Swift Cloak would be pretty good too. If you do like a Finale build and all that stuff, the accuracy and damage will kind of build up on their own, so it's not the end of the world. Hellion is our next one. 20% quirk, wow. Oh, okay. So we will put on a trinket to get rid of it. Alright, ignore her HP and speed. She has natural. We're going to be obviously putting trinkets on. Obviously, natural is a great trinket. I mean, great quirk when you have no trinkets, but we're going to put trinkets on. For the Hellion, she absolutely needs accuracy, HP, and damage. Generically, it's okay to minus dodge as well. Things you don't want to do on her. I've lost a lot of Hellions. We don't want to decrease HP. Speed's whatever. If she goes a little slower, I wouldn't dumpster her speed, but you could lower her speed a little bit. And yeah, definitely don't lower her accuracy. Damage, accuracy, and HP I think will be really good for her. So obviously starting with the end game, as I've been saying with everyone, the Ancestor Scandal is just like one of the best trinkets in the game. So of course I'm going to mention it practically on every damage dealer, because it's really hard to find speed and damage together without major drawbacks. The only drawback is 10% stress, technically keeping the torch above 50, but that's pretty easy to do. So if I was to do this, I wouldn't go any more damage now, because the damage is 12 to like 21. That's plenty. At this rate, we're looking for accuracy. My immediate go-to would be a focus ring. They're not very hard to find. The 10 accuracy is amazing. The more crits are really nice. So yeah, she goes down to 22 dodge. Who really cares? 7 speed from 1 from quirk. Okay, so 6 speed. But you'd get 2 from this, so 8 speed. 8 speed's actually pretty good. It's probably middle of the pack. With plus 10 accuracy, what puts her at 115. Yeah, 115 accuracy probably gives you about 85-90% chance to hit most enemies. Maybe a little more, a little less, depending on the enemy, obviously. But overall, pretty good. Legendary Bracer, if you don't have the Ancestor's Candle, not bad. 12 to 23 is pretty good damage. We still have the accuracy modifier, and -1 speed only takes her down to 5. Yeah, 5. So it'd only take her down to 5 speed on the lower end. Probably would be closer to like 6 to go. Maybe with a little RNG you could roll higher, but 12 to 23 is pretty beefy, especially with 10 more accuracy. I don't know if there's really any other major trinkets. You can put stress reduction on her. Once again, we don't decrease her HP. 46 is not a lot for only 30 dodge. And especially since we also don't look to add dodge. She's just right around that weird level where we want her to excel in damage. And since she does have a self-heal, she can always bail herself out. You just do have to be aware of her getting bursted in the front row, because she doesn't have the most HP to live in position 1. So as we continue, Hell's Hairpin, no thank you. Yeah, we already talked about Ancestor's Candle, all that. Let's go to like a mid-early game, what would be really good on her. The Berserk Charm, the minus accuracy is rough, but the damage is pretty good. So if you could find a way to maybe give her, like, and it's not hard to find, you could give her a Warrior's Cap, whatever it's called. You could also give her a Sun Ring. That would do the, that would cancel the accuracy. So you could get 25% damage, 3 speed for really minus 15% stress. I mean, plus 15% stress. I know minus 10% virtue chances on there, but I never assume you get those anyways. So for 15% more stress, you'd get 25% damage, 3 speed, 5 accuracy. Pretty darn good, and these trinkets aren't terribly hard to find in the mid game. Bleed Amulet, if you want to run a bleed out or if it bleeds build, not terrible. You could go Book of Holiness if you just want to reduce her stress and you have other people heal her. Book of Relaxation is not bad. Accuracy and reduction in stress for minus dodge. Once again, we don't really care about dodge too terribly much, so that's a pretty good choice on her. Plus 15% max HP in just general for minus 20% stun resist for just something in the beginning of the game. Hey, pretty good. So we can definitely take that HP. We can also take the other HPs of the Gambler's Charm if you want to do Death Blow instead of Stun Resist. Same thing with the Life Crystal if you don't care about the speed reduction. If you're going to do a Barbaric Yops, obviously go Stun Amulet. It's not terrible. Feather Crystals are actually meh on her. I wouldn't do it because, once again, we don't care about dodge too much. And adding 2 speed, there's other trinkets that can add speed or a lot more damage, because we want to do a lot more damage and accuracy than just going faster. Surgical Gloves aren't bad on her. Gives her that accuracy, gives her that crit chance so she could self-heal. Dazzling Charm, hey, if you got it. Damage Stone. I wouldn't do Caution Cloak with her. I do want her going towards like the middle end of the pack, not dead last. You could sacrifice 1 speed for survival guide. Like I said, it's not the end of the world if her speed goes down a little. We just don't want her to be dead last. We do want her to try to blow up someone in the front row or at least get a double stun going. So overall, she's really simple. I don't really vary my trinkets much on her. It's pretty much just damage, HP, and accuracy. If the minus dodge, minus speed happens, so what? I just don't want to take away from her accuracy because she's definitely one of those people when she lands an ability, it needs to land. Has also a benefit she crits. And I will say I used to run, it's a little bit of an RNG-esque build. I didn't mind running Quick Draw Charm on her with a Iron Swan to kill 4th position stress damage dealers. It's a little bit of a gimmicky, but -3 afterwards not terrible. But she can either go first for a double stun in the front row, or she can do an Iron Swan. You can blow up the 4th position. So it's something to consider. I used to do it. It worked pretty well, but if you do miss, it kind of sucks. So it's one of those things where if you get the RNG, it's really good. If you don't, you kind of regret it by the second round. Alright, Bounty Hunter. We'll do the same thing we've been doing with everyone else. Damage and support. We do have Risk Taker, 10% more damage, -10 dodge, so 8 to 16 is normal. We have now 9 to 18. I believe he has accuracy as well. Yeah, okay. 2 speed, 5 dodge, okay. So Luminous actually may not be a DLC positive quirk. There's a lot of positive quirks. I don't remember all of them. I believe they do have like a little thing if they're the Miller. But obviously really good. I would lock that in if I was playing this campaign still. But I'd also argue his natural 7 base speed is pretty good. His base armor of 25. We do not care about dodge. So things you want to increase on the Bounty Hunter for damage is just mostly accuracy, HP, and damage. Speed, if you're going to do a mark build with him, you obviously want him to go a little later in the round. If he's doing the marking, maybe you do want to increase his speed. So you need to figure out if he's the marker or if he's going to be the guy working off the mark. If we're going to be doing a support build, obviously it's either going to be do increase stun chance or do you increase pull chance. You have to decide, is he going to be more of a flashbang uppercut or is he going to be more of a come hither into a collect bounty? So you need to decide that. We'll assume right now it's going to be a come hither / collect bounty build, and then we can generically look at a few stun trinkets. The stun trinkets aren't much different. You're still going to pick HP, damage, and all that. It's just your uppercut and flashbang may be your first choice rather than a come hither. So let's just get the obligatory Ancestor's Candle out of the way. Speed, damage, dodge. Pretty much 2 out of the 3 things we definitely want to increase. Awesome, awesome. He can actually be your scouting guy too. If he sits in the 3rd or 4th position, he can also be your scouter. I don't always do it, but if I have everyone else really need trinkets, he can be a natural fallback for the Ancestors map or a scouting trinket. Because once again, his speed can decrease and he can be more useful. Once again, I avoid the Ancestors Pendant and all that stuff. It's you really want to get him damage. You could do minus stress. He's weird. He doesn't have a lot of dodge. He doesn't have a lot of HP, so he's going to get hit with a lot of abilities. So if he's a front row bounty hunter, having minus stress on him might actually be useful, and then you just take him, you clean him up on the heal side. So I don't always mind throwing on a Book of Sanity or an Aria box. Once again, stress damage, your stress pool only stays at 100, doesn't increase as you level up. Therefore, the less stress you can take, the better. The other reason, Fortifying Garlic, for the same exact reason. If he's getting hit, at least let's avoid DOT so he doesn't die on a DOT tick or take more damage. Focus Rings are always great on him. His dodge isn't great already, but that accuracy crit, we always welcome that. I don't ever depend on virtue chances. Legendary Bracer is pretty good on him. The increase in damage for only -1 speed, 10% stress. You just maybe throw in a Book of Sanity then. He doesn't get any accuracy then, so you would have to be careful. I don't think his skills are lower, but they're also not higher, right? 105, yeah, it's pretty much average. So you will have to live with someone with 30 dodge only being like an 80% chance to hit, so you may want to add 5 to 10 accuracy. I used to put on the Wounding Helmet. 25% damage to melee skills, but that's actually not like all that great because he really does excel in his come hither flashbang. So I definitely use that less now than I used to. The Berserker Charm, it's actually not It's not great because like the speed accurate, you really want to get that accuracy. You really don't want to decrease accuracy in the bounty hunter. Pretty much with any skill. We can check out flashbang. It's a little higher in accuracy at 115. I guess you could lose, what is it, 5 accuracy. 110 is pretty good for you to go faster, but then again, you're not doing any extra damage. So like, I probably would avoid that. That'd go 105, but already minus 67. So yeah, I'd actually avoid the Berserk Charm, unless you have things that can give you accuracy either via quirk or you have a good like focus ring to make up for that. Feather Crystal, I don't think it's very good on him. Once again, we kind of like going in the middle of the road. We want accuracy damage. I'd only do the Quick Draw Charm if he's going to do a come hither and he's going to mark for someone, and you want to make sure he's always first. That's the only time I'd use Quick Draw Charm, is if you're going to have him obviously do mark for death or do come hither. So if you're going to do a mark build, you want to ensure it gets off every time early on. Quick Draw is pretty good. If you don't have a lot of trinkets early on, honestly, a recovery charm may not be bad on them. 40% healing is a big boost. So with your healing skills not being so great early on and his HP and dodge being kind of meh, might actually be a good way to keep him a little safer. Sun Cloak, if you got it, it may not be that bad. 10 dodge early on plus 5% protection. May dodge ability and you knock off 1 point of damage, it might help him, but I think the Sun Ring is a better choice. It's that damage and accuracy we're definitely looking for. So if I had to decide between the Sun Cloak and the Sun Ring, I always prefer offensive compared to defensive quirks. You could do the Book's Relaxation. Once again, it's the minus stress, is the plus a little bit of accuracy. That wouldn't be terrible on him. Generic HP increases are pretty good too. Just, get that 7% HP or, get the 8. Only -1 speed, not terrible. So, giving him large amounts of HP for just little speed reductions aren't terrible. As always, Stun Ambulance, really good for his flashbang uppercut. Surgical Gloves because he's melee. Swift Cloak, once again, wouldn't do it. Bounty Hunter, the +1 speed for dodge, I mean, it's really good early on. I just, obviously later on, no. Caution Cloak's a weird one. If everyone else has good good trinkets, I'd maybe put it on them. Because once again, maybe you could set someone up for the second round, or maybe someone else is marking for him, and you definitely ensure he goes last, so it may not be bad. 10% damage and 10% stun are also pretty good in the beginning. Bounty Hunter is one of those weird characters where, depending on which, and obviously the Warrior's Cap, just that generic accuracy is very good. So yeah, Bounty Hunter is one of those weird characters where, depending on how you use them, you're going to have to allocate more towards higher speed, much lower speeds. Are you going more of a damage Bounty Hunter? Are you going more of support Bounty Hunter? And what you want to increase and decrease. So once again, I would never decrease his stun or come hither pool. Like I said, the wounding helmet I don't like, because when you use come hither or flashbang on that one occasion, minusing 20% from each is really ridiculous. I would not ever reduce those. Would never reduce his HP. And you can pretty much reduce his dodge and his speed by little. If you completely dumpster his HP, make sure, if you dumpster his speed, make sure it's for mark composition and not just generically doing it.